Hey guys, welcome to Sip with Joy. If this is your first time joining, this is a show about a girl, her wine, and her feelings, and I am that girl. I am your host, Joy M. Hutton, serial entrepreneur and lover of food and wine. And speaking of wine today, I am drinking a Prosecco. So, I had to take my sip here. It's actually International Prosecco Day. So if you didn't know, it's not too late to go and get your glass. All right. I'm excited about today's episode because we have a guest, and this is like one of my favorite guests in Instagram, favorite people in Instagram land. And you know how you say you have like a BFF in your head? Like this is one of my BFFs in my head. So I'm so excited to introduce you guys to Chasity Cooper. She is a writer and wine culture expert. So I'm going to bring her up in a second. And today's episode is called I Thank God for My Homies, because Chasity wrote an article about friendship. And we all know it ain't easy making friends. So I want to talk to her about her wine journey as well as friends, okay? Because, woo, how many of us have them? All right, so I'm gonna bring Chasity up. Hey, Chasity.
Hello, Joy. How are you?
Good. I am so excited about having you on. I was telling you earlier, I'm like, this has been a long time coming. And we have so much in common, not just wine, but we Capricorns
Yes.
from Chicago, so it's just like, I'm like, this is my spirit person. So I'm so glad to have you here today. And hey, everybody, they blowing up the chat. So if you're on YouTube, they in the chat. So hey, Lydia, hey, Just Lee, Elsie, Sandra, Rhonda. Okay, they in the building. They here to see you, girl. So I want to jump right into it. So of course, I told everybody I was drinking my Prosecco. It's International Prosecco Day. So I was like, ooh, I got something in my stash. So
Yes.
tell us what you're sipping on.
I am sipping on bubbles as well. So I
Okay.
had some
Cheers.
leftover wine from, yes, cheers. I had some leftover wine from an event I did last week or the week before last.
Okay.
And I had a bottle of Segura Viudas Cava. So
Kava, yes.
you're sipping from Italy. I'm sipping from
I
Spain.
love
We are
it.
internationally known. We're in,
Yes.
just
I love
enjoying
it.
it.
We're in sync. We are so in sync. All right. So I love it. So since, we're talking about wine, this is all about my love for wine before we get to the friendship piece. I want to talk about your wine journey. And for those of you who do not know Chasity Cooper, follow her at by Chasity Cooper on Instagram. So, talk about your wine journey because you are doing some amazing things, have done some amazing things, and you got some amazing things coming up. So, tell the
Yes.
people who you are.
I am a writer. I'm a wine culture expert. I'm a marketing baddie, 9 to 5. I love media. I've always loved storytelling. So really that was my entryway into the wine industry. I started really on the journey about, gosh, it's 2023. I took a trip abroad going to my senior year of college in 2010.
Mm-hmm.
And we went to Spain, and one of the like excursions or one of the activities we could do was going to
Yeah.
a winery. And I was like,
Mm-hmm.
I'm in Spain. I might as well do
That's
this,
so
the
crazy. That's
Spanish.
my story.
That's so fun.
Yes.
So we went, I got off the bus, and immediately there was just this kind of, I don't know if it was something in the air, but I was
Yeah.
like, this is so interesting to me. So we
Mm-hmm.
went through the tour, went to the barrel room, took some samples, and then ended up in the wine shop part, and we're tasting different wines with different cheeses. And I'm like, I need to buy all these bottles and bring them home. And
Yeah.
I'm 21 at the time. So I'm just like, this was so special. Got
Yeah.
back, went back to drinking, my cranberry vodkas, amaretto sours at the local campus bar until
Right. You're like,
I moved.
man, this is terrible.
And then I graduated, moved to DC, and I lived in DC for about 6 years. And
Mhm.
honestly, those 6 years was really what activated
Yeah.
my seriousness around wine.
Mhm.
So, a little show called Scandal came on spring of
Yes.
2012, and you could not tell any Black woman who lived in the district at the time that they were not Olivia Pope.
Right.
Um, the girls had the trench coats. They had the the big glasses of red wine.
Yes.
They were telling everybody it's handled. Me too. But for me, again, being the media nerd that I am, I was like, I see myself in Olivia. I see
Yeah.
myself in her parents who love fine wine. Like, my parents didn't necessarily grow up with, or I didn't grow up with wine on the table. I would
Right.
see, bottles of wine at the cookout. I remember my parents, when they had people over, they would have, they would make mixed drinks or
Right.
daiquiris. So I remember that part,
Yeah.
but wine and fine wine at that was not something that was like really in my stratosphere growing up. And so being in DC, being able to be around really nice restaurants and
Mhm.
wine shops, and I just took a chance on myself, and I would walk into wine shops, ask
Yeah.
questions, do tastings. And fast forward to 2018, I'd been writing for a while, freelance writing, and
Mhm.
I decided to take the WSET first level. And I was like, if I'm
Yes.
gonna be in this, I'm gonna do it the right way.
Mhm.
And so now, 5 years later, one, two, three, I've started
Yes.
four.
Woo.
I've been able to travel around the world just because of
Mhm.
my love for wine and my love for writing as well. And so
Yeah.
it's been a really cool journey. I
Mhm.
really do straddle two careers. Like I said, I'm a marketer by day, and then
Mhm.
a sommelier all the time.
Yeah.
So it's been a lot of fun, and sometimes the worlds collide, sometimes they're very separate, but
Yeah.
everybody knows I'm the wine girl,
Yes.
and I love being able to share that with people.
I love that. So y'all see why I'm crushing on Chastity. Like she's my spirit person. I was like, oh my God, we have so much in common. And I didn't
Yes.
even know about the Spain piece because I studied abroad in Madrid when I was in college. And
Get out, me
so
too.
yes,
Okay,
and
yeah.
so I like this is so crazy. And so that like kind of activated my senses for wine because my dad kind of introduced me to wine, but I'm like well past him now. So, but when I went there, yeah, Cava and Tempranillo, and then traveling throughout Eastern
Mhm.
Europe and or Western Europe, and so I was just like, oh my God, this is a whole new world, and it
Right.
really is. And there's still so much that I don't know, and it's just so exciting to me. So yeah, I'm sure everybody's like, we've never seen Joy this happy on an episode of Sip with Joy,
Oh.
because I just
When you
love
find your person,
I know.
listen.
I'm like, I found a person to talk to. Why? I'm like, I can't wait to have Chastity on. So yeah, it's very exciting to me. It's just a very exciting world, and I love to see more of us in it. And there are just so many Black people in wine right now, and I'm just like, whoa, who knew this community was out here? And it's just amazing. But also, I just love seeing women at the forefront too. And so yeah. So we're talking about friendship and stuff. And it's always good to have friends and wine. I think that that's a good mix. So how have friends been kind of pivotal to this journey? Because being in especially when you started learning about wine, it can be very isolating because people are like, what are you doing? So how have friends been pivotal to this wine journey that you're on?
Oh man, I have friends who have really been they were at the inception of my
Mm-hmm.
wine journey. And
Yeah.
I mean, it's like really going on, gosh, like I'd say really I got serious about it probably around like 2015,
Yeah.
2016. So if you
Mm-hmm.
met me around that time and you noticed that I was really getting into it, I was
Mm-hmm.
joining wine clubs, I was really writing about it on my blog. And to see what I've done now, it's weird to have conversations with my friends and like, yo, I remember when you were doing that. And I'm like,
Yeah.
ooh, don't make me
Ooh,
cry,
it's like
because wow,
yeah,
you
taking
really
me back
have
there.
been there from the beginning.
Yes.
Um, so it's a blessing to have friends to remind you of where you started and to
Yeah.
continue to encourage where you're going, even though sometimes you may not know. Like sometimes
Mhm.
I have moments where I'm like, or I've had moments where I'm like, I don't know what I'm gonna do right now.
Yes,
So I'm just
exactly.
chill. And they're like, okay, cool, but can you recommend
Right.
something for? I'm like, thank you for still pushing me forward. So
Yeah,
friends have definitely
absolutely.
been a really important, like the real day ones.
Mhm.
And not like, just the wine friends that have come along. I'm talking about my friends who were in DC who remember, me
Yeah.
trying to figure out this whole thing and how like what path to take.
Mhm.
It's really been a blessing. I know for them, they're just like, "Oh my gosh, remember when?" I'm like, "But
Yeah.
you've been a part of this journey, just as
Exactly.
much as I've been able to, walk it out." So,
Right.
friends have been super important. Family, it took them a while to get along, get
Right.
around to what I was doing, but once they were like, "Oh, like you actually know." I'm like, "Yeah, guys,
Yeah. I know what I'm talking about.
I know what I'm
Yeah.
talking about."
Yeah, exactly. Exactly. That's what I tell people. I'm like, nah, I'm kind of doing this thing for real. I'm not like doing these certifications for hobby. I want this to go somewhere, you know.
Exactly.
So you say you're a marketer by day and then you're doing your wine career. How in the world are you balancing this all? And you're taking the diploma for WSET. Like, what?
Yeah. Being the Capricorn and overachiever that I
Yes,
am,
welcome to the club. Yes.
um, I'm really just figuring it out as I go.
Yeah.
I think especially now since I've walked into a new role at my full-time job, really becoming more disciplined in, how I spend my time, knowing when to close my work laptop and
Hmm.
open my personal laptop and be like, all right, we have these deadlines we need to hit. We've
Hmm.
said yes to these opportunities. When are we gonna find time to do it all?
Right.
But I think I've really just had to trust my spirit of discernment. Like people want, your time, whether you're in wine or tech
Hmm.
or, if you're an entrepreneur,
Right.
people want you to do so much.
Hmm.
And it really is, it comes down to being like, okay, how is this going to help me in my goals and push me forward in being able to help other people learn about wine? So
Right.
in the last year, um, my international travels have just declined, not in a bad way, but
Yeah.
really by choice
Hmm.
because I went into this year, I was like, okay, um, one of my prayers was I know I want to make an impact
Hmm.
locally, like being in
Yeah.
Chicago, like we are a world-class food city,
Yes.
but I also believe we're a world-class wine city too. And
Hmm.
so how can I use my voice to help people recognize that?
Right.
So being invited to different things here in Chicago, whether it be tastings or restaurant openings, and having a better understanding of how, culinary art works with wine,
Hmm.
that's just kind of opened my mind up to an entirely different kind of sector that I can
Right.
continue to explore. Not to say I'm gonna say no to international trips. Like if
Yeah.
it's to a destination I've been wanting to try,
Right.
immediately yes, and I'll take
Yes.
that PTO. Um,
Exactly.
but as far as
Exactly.
balancing, it's really just been saying no to certain things, really being intentional about my rest.
Hmm.
This summer, while I thought it was about to be a hot girl summer, has been a summer of rest and
Yeah,
work and
absolutely.
reflection. And so
Hmm.
everything happens for a reason in a season. And I
Yeah.
think this season is really just about me getting clear on um, how I want to walk my purpose out and what things I need to keep working on to do that.
Right. I love that. Woo, girl. Yes, I love it. All right. So the article that you wrote was the Black Millennial Woman's Guide to Navigating Friendship. Talk more about that because when I saw that, I was like, "Ooh! Not only can I talk to Chastity about wine, I'm like, I gotta get her on and talk about friends because as an older woman, when you get past a certain age, making friends becomes increasingly difficult. And then we're in the era of like unbotheredness. I ain't got it. I won't, like, people are just ready to cut people off at an instant. So building friendships, keeping friendships, severing ties with people, all of that's happening. And I think when you get older, you're more in a transitional period with friends. So when I saw your article, I really liked that because it highlighted a lot of different examples of a friendship. So can you talk about that? And you guys have to go. You go to Chastity's Instagram and her blog. It's on there. So definitely check that out. A Black Millennial Woman's Guide to Navigating Friendship.
Yeah, so I'm pretty sure that the inspiration for this article came from something I saw on social media. Like
Mm-hmm.
people have like different threads and they talk about, oh, friendship this, or it was definitely earlier this year or late last year.
Yeah.
And it just got me to thinking about my friendships, my circles of influence and inspiration, and how have Black women been represented in media when it comes to friendship. So you automatically think of Insecure, you think of Living Single, you think of Girlfriends. So kind of taking that as making that the foundation for the story,
Yeah.
and then branching out a bit. I think there was another example I shared in the article, just about how friendships evolve and they
Yeah.
change.
Mm-hmm.
But for me, being in my mid-30s, it's been a roller coaster ride to see how friends have come, how they've gone. Like even over the last 10 years, you think in your 20s, you're like, oh, I'm gonna be friends with this person forever. And then
Right.
you find out who they really are, and you're
Yeah.
like, nah, girl.
No.
I'm good.
Exactly.
You can go.
We are not growing together. We're growing apart.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And that's also difficult too, because I'm actually going through that. I've been going through it for a while. And
Yeah.
what I have found, and I'll speak for myself, that I tend to sometimes avoid, and I'm just like, oh, it's gonna simmer, like it's gonna just be on the back burner and just
Right.
keep simmering,
Right.
and to the point where there's no more water in the pot.
Yeah.
But I also had to realize, and this is something I learned in therapy a couple years ago, I couldn't keep being the person that was constantly pouring out or
Yes.
checking in.
Absolutely.
And when you do that so many times and you don't get it reciprocated, that's also kind of detrimental to your mental and physical health as well.
It's draining. It's depleting.
Completely depleting and straining. And so for me right now in 2023, friendship is so important. I have like the group chats. I have like my, really close homegirl here in Chicago, which I'm so thankful I met her before the pandemic.
Yeah.
Cause I was like, I just need somebody to like,
right.
We gotta go out.
Exactly.
Sometime.
Yeah.
But the article for me was such a great exercise in being able to reflect on my friendships, but also ask other Black women how they were dealing with their friendships across the board. I talked to women as young as 19, as old as 41, 42, and the stories, I wish I would have had the chance to listen to more stories, but I was on deadline. So I had to cut it off but there were so many women who had tweeted me and they're like, I got a story. And I'm like, baby girl, thank you so much, but gotta stop it here or I'm gonna be here all day, trying to chat with everybody. But it was eye-opening, and some of the stories were quite sad. Some of the stories were they were beautiful in hearing how just the friendships had formed and how they had kind of stood the test of time. And it really just gave me an appreciation of my friendships, of my friends, like I was saying earlier, who had been there from the beginning of my wine journey.
Right.
And then to be able to tap into the expertise of Black women who were in academia, who were in psychology, and really get their perspective as well, because as well, as much as they are experts in, mental well-being,
Mm-hmm.
they're also Black women and they also have friends
Yeah,
too. So it was a nice
absolutely.
exercise to be able to do that.
Yeah, it was good. One of the things I read in there in the article was the girl, she was mad because a friend didn't show up to her birthday party and she just cut her off. And I'm like, that's a little extreme. But like you were saying, it was saying that there were some other things that were there that kind of led her to cutting off that friend. Cuz sometimes you have stuff brewing for years. I've had friendships where there have been things brewing for years and then you finally get to your breaking point and you like, "You know what? I'm not about to do this anymore." I've gotten to this is the last straw,
Yeah.
So because at first I was like, "Girl, what? That's not right," because everybody can't meet your obligations, and so yeah, I saw that story and I just laughed. We were talking about that earlier.
Yeah, when she told me that, I was like, "Are you kidding me?" And you're like,
Right?
she was like, "No," but to your point,
Yeah.
I think a lot of times being, Black women and having this identity that's put on us when we come out the womb, like we're
Mhm.
strong, we're resilient, we can
Yes.
take on anything, not anything.
Mhm.
So I think learning the art of setting boundaries, learning how to advocate for yourself, learning how to also meet people where they are. If they're not where you're at, that's
Mhm.
okay.
Yeah.
And y'all can spin the block another time. I think one of the things I've learned is that um, I'm typically a optimistic, although if you read up on Capricorn women,
They
they're
say
said
we're
that they're very
pessimists,
pessimistic.
right?
No, I'm
Yeah.
quite the optimist
Yeah.
when you get to know me.
Mhm.
But the more, again, I've poured out in certain friendships and they just, there's no return on the investment, I've
Mhm.
had to be like, all right, well, I'm just gonna stop.
Right.
I'm gonna just stop because it's not fueling me in a
Yeah.
positive way.
Mhm.
It's leaving me feeling like I'm playing this kind of mental game
Mhm.
of double dutch. Like sometimes she, homegirl is on sometimes, and then
Yeah.
walking on eggshells because that's lame too.
Oof.
Like we're old, we're
Yes.
adults. We should be able
Yes.
to speak about our feelings
Use your
candidly.
words. Right.
Hmm.
But it could be like being in a bad relationship. You could be in an abusive relationships with friends too,
Hmm.
okay? Emotionally abusive, verbally abusive, psychologically. Like it can be abusive for friends too. Friends are not
Absolutely.
exempt from bad behavior. So and I think, like you said, we're older. We should be able to use our words. But sometimes you just get to a point where I'm just not explaining myself anymore. And then you just have to walk away for the sake of your sanity. Because I've gotten
Hmm.
to a point in relationships like that too. Like, you know what? I'm just not. I'm just not doing it. So let's talk about that a little bit too, like making friends when you're older, because making friends is also like dating. It's like, can I bring you home to my mama? Can I bring you around other friends? Can we go out together? Are you gonna
Exactly.
call me? It's just like it's like dating. There's a vetting process that has to happen, and the older you get to, the more you're protective of your space and your energy too. So I think that also plays a part.
Totally. And I think you mentioned something earlier about intentionality. And so
Mm-hmm.
when it comes to making friends now, let's say you're in your early 30s, mid 30s, early
Yeah.
40s, and I never ever agreed with the Drake song No New
Yeah.
Friends because
Yeah.
even with your, older friends, the friends you've had since elementary school or high school, you can
Mm-hmm.
outgrow those friendships and y'all can
Exactly.
just grow apart.
Yeah.
So I think it's just really taking your time when you are, pursuing a new friendship. I know we
Mm-hmm.
have new tools like Bumble BFF and like
Mm-hmm.
Facebook groups and all these other things that people can, join running groups or
Yeah.
join supper clubs. And that's another way to meet people.
Mm-hmm.
But I think just having a very strong sense of self and understanding what you want from certain friendships, like
Right.
you had mentioned earlier, is this the friend I just go to brunch with,
Mm-hmm.
or is this the friend that kind of I play tennis with on Saturdays? Or is this the all around friend where we can travel, we can go out to brunch, we
Yeah.
can go to church, we
Mhm.
can go to brunch, she can meet my family? Like,
Mhm.
those friends are very rare.
Yes, it
They're
is.
very rare. And they're special, and you just have to be like, oh, you really down for the cause? Like,
Right.
yes, like I'm not gonna let you go.
Exactly. You become
Um,
crazy about them friends too. You like, oh no, no, we in this
y-
thing.
exactly. And the older you get, the more you know that you don't play about them and they don't
Yes,
play
and they don't
about
play
you,
about you.
which is
Hmm.
nice. Like,
Yes.
but then you also sometimes feel like I mean, you have those moments of, where the rubber meets the road and maybe there was a
Hmm.
miscommunication. But I think at this point in my life, I'm self-aware to the point where I'm like, okay, I know I messed up. I know
Exactly.
I didn't
Hmm.
communicate that well. I'm
Right.
sorry. I'm sorry that this made you that you felt this way about my
Hmm.
actions. Let's, find a way to better communicate so that it won't happen again.
Right.
And I just cherish the friendships now that I have more, because we're able to have those very uncomfortable
Yeah.
conversations.
Hmm.
As much as they hurt in the moment, you're like, I appreciate you, coming to me and saying that,
Hmm.
or accepting my apology,
Exactly.
or standing up for me or being there for me. So it really is just that it's really trusting yourself, having discernment. Like, if people show you who they are,
Hmm.
please believe them the
Oh,
first
please
time.
believe
Like,
them. That's my favorite quote. Like, listen. And sometimes it takes you years to open your eyes, but when you open them, baby, don't ignore the signs. Like,
and I will mention also, it doesn't even have to be with you directly, but
yeah.
I've had friends who have talked about their experiences with other people. And I'm just like, you keep falling for the same goofy stuff. Like,
Right.
that's telling me something.
Mm,
Like,
right. Exactly. You like, that's a sign. And then that emoji that's like, that's
mm-mm, no, thank you.
exactly. Exactly. That's so good. So, when do you think it's time to end a friendship?
Hmm.
Because sometimes we hold on to friendships because of time. You're like, I've known this person for 30 years. Yeah, but you've been also been in a very dysfunctional friendship. It's time to let it go. So yeah, when do you think it's time to cut that cord?
Yeah, I think I've been in that season for a minute with
Mm-hmm.
one person. And like I said earlier, I tend to sometimes avoid things, but I know I'm like,
Yeah.
I don't want to always be the girl to bring it up. Like,
Right. Right.
I need that person to seek me out too and be like,
Mm-hmm.
hey, we should talk. But if I've done a lot of the legwork, then sometimes it just needs to simmer. Like, sometimes I've learned that, especially looking over the friendships I've had in my 20s, like,
Yeah.
there were big to dos when it came to ending a friendship. And it
Mm-hmm.
was like dramatic. It was like very juvenile. I'm like, we could have handled
Yeah.
that. We could have handled that
Right.
so differently. But I think I'm thinking about a particular friendship right now. And I think I'm definitely at the simmer stage where, like, you have a pot on the stove and it's just simmering, and
Mm-hmm.
the water is just, decreasing and
Yeah. And
decreasing
then
and
it's
decreasing to the
gone.
point where you might burn the pan
Right.
if you don't tend to it.
Yeah.
I hope to not get to that point, but I
Yeah.
think when you find that you're not only are you not being like replenished or feeling like positive when you leave an encounter with that person, or y'all aren't growing together
Mm-hmm.
anymore,
Mm-hmm.
that's when it's time. And
Yeah.
again, like I said, you can bend the block again maybe a year or two from now,
Mm-hmm.
but if the situation isn't serving you,
Yeah.
then you have to walk away.
Yeah. Yeah. And it can be painful, just like you grieve a death, you grieve a breakup. Friendship breakups are real too, and you have to go through that grief process. Cuz
Hmm.
sometimes you're like, "Ooh, maybe, we can come back to each other, maybe." And you might. But sometimes it's just not going to happen. But you have to grieve that friendship. That's a very real thing. It's like,
Hmm.
"Ooh, that hurts." Especially if
Hmm.
it's somebody that you've known for a very long time, but it doesn't have to be a long time. It could be just someone you've really poured yourself into. It could have been 6 months, a year,
Right.
but it still hurts. So yeah, that grief process is real too.
Whew, like I think back to like the friendships that ended in my 20s, and it was easy to find a balm like going out or like going
Yes.
out with other friends. But then when you're by yourself, you're like, dang, I used to do X with that friend. Now I can't even call her no more. Like,
Right.
or I didn't give myself the time to grieve in my
Mhm.
20s. Like, I think I
Yeah.
just moved on.
Mhm.
And when you run into that person almost a decade later in your hometown, like that happened to me recently,
You like, oh, hey,
I'm like, oh,
girl.
and it's very like, it's not cold, but it's just like, oh, hey,
Right. It's awkward. Cause it's like,
it's
what do
so
you
awkward.
say? It's awkward. It's like running into an ex.
Now,
It's-
and the thing with exes though, like I'm petty. So I tend to sometimes just make it awkward for them. It's not gonna be awkward for me.
Right.
Maybe down the line, but in the immediate, I know this gonna be to my advantage. I'm gonna
Right.
make you feel weird. Um
Right. It's that Capricorn.
I
Oh.
there's this one time I had, like, this is complete sidebar, but like I felt like I was on top of the world. I was like,
Yeah.
nah, I'm gonna make you feel weird because this is
Mm.
I broke up with you, my boy. Like,
Right.
complete sidebar.
Yeah.
Um, but as far as like friendships go, yeah, it's awkward, and even
Yeah.
trying to find the time to like, we all have our lives and we all have so much
Mhm.
going on. It's like finding the time where we're both we can be on the same accord and be like, you know what, this isn't working out, this isn't fueling me. And
Mhm.
sometimes I know for me in the situation I'm in, I am a woman of faith, so
Mhm.
sometimes I just get these promptings from my spirit where it's like, nope, girl, not right now.
Yep.
Just, and then you find out, you're like, oh, you wasn't ready to have that conversation anyway. Glad I
Mm.
didn't push it.
Yes. It might
um
not have been. It might have been ugly.
And I don't want I also, being uh optimistic pessimist, will play
Yeah.
these scenarios in my head where
Mhm.
I'm like cussing people out and I'm like, that's
Right.
not me. Like,
You're like internally, but not externally.
yeah, because I just, that's so much energy
Yeah.
exerted, and I'm like, I could
Mhm.
spend that reading a book
Yeah.
or taking a nap.
Mhm.
But I think just understanding when it's not reciprocal, and it's not serving you, and it's not making you want to be a
Yeah.
better person, and you're not
Absolutely.
inspired by what they're doing, or
Mhm.
maybe not that, because you could
Yeah.
be inspired by somebody and still have a distance between you and that person. But
Right.
if it's just not fueling you and it's
Yeah.
not leaving you feeling joyful and excited about
Mhm.
being in the friendship with the person,
Yeah.
it's time to call it.
Yeah, you have to let it go. Yeah,
Hmm.
that's really good. Someone said, I like you. Petty twins activate.
Do not see, listen, I try to tuck my petulance, but sometimes I just pull her out like
Right,
a
so,
trump card.
right. You have to just. And then someone said, friends are a slippery slope. I had to distance myself from folks who are not happy for you. You cheer them on, but if you feel down, it's crickets. Mm. And that's another thing too, because like as you rise, I'm sure you've lost people too, because that has also happened to me. And I'm like, so why can't we just go up together? Why can't you just be happy for me going up, and you can go up too? Like nobody's stopping you but you.
Exactly.
You know, so I'm sure you've experienced that as well in that growth phase.
Yeah, and it's that's also another pain point, because you're like, I
Yeah.
want you to, like, I'm happy for you. I'm, again, everybody's biggest cheerleader.
Yes.
Like, I want everybody to win in
Mhm.
whatever that they're doing. So when
Right.
it feels ingenuine, I don't know if that's a word, disingenuous,
Yeah.
that's the word I'm looking
Mhm.
for. When it doesn't feel like they're genuinely happy for you, or they bring it back to something that they're
Mhm.
doing,
Yeah.
I'm like, okay, G, you're not really happy with me, are you?
Right. Right.
Cool. Bet.
Mhm.
But again, that's another sign where you could be like, okay, well, maybe I just need to, like, distance myself just a little bit
Yeah.
from this situation. But
Mhm.
I think, again, and not to make it an age thing, but there's no reason why we should be, excuse me, using, inappropriate words with,
Right.
certain friends. Now, if you have to scrap, then that's when we all just need to like take a breather.
Exactly. Right. It should not come to that
Because
at all. We grown,
we're
okay?
grown, don't nobody need to catch a case. But
Exactly.
I think just being mindful that like people grow apart all the time, our
Yeah.
interests change, and it's okay. It's literally okay. There are people out there, just like there is a person for every person romantically, there are people for all of us
Yes.
platonically. And
Absolutely.
the friendships don't have to last decades and
Mhm.
decades. They can be seasons.
Mhm.
And I know I've definitely, especially my friends who have, gotten married and had kids, like
Mhm.
I've had to be much more. I think both of us have had to be more aware of
Yeah.
how we move in certain
Mhm.
situations, and I
Mhm.
think it's okay to be like, joking and fun at first, like, oh, she gonna come out with us, like leave the kids at home, but I am not a parent.
Mhm.
So I don't understand. I don't have the knowledge of what that means to like leave
Exactly.
your baby at
Mhm.
home, and like the bond that you've built with your child. Like it's
Right.
not as simple as, oh, I'm going to the club. Bye.
Right. Exactly. You
Um,
can't come out like
right. So just
right.
understanding and extending grace when necessary.
Yeah.
And I've learned a lot from my married friends, my
Mhm.
homegirls who are married and have children,
Yeah.
and also my friends who were married and are now divorced.
Right.
Everybody's just been, we're all, everybody has teachable moments, and we're all here to learn from each other. So it's
Mhm.
really been special to be in those relationships
Yeah.
too.
Yeah. My dad always says, he's like, you're lucky if you have one or two friends who are at that top level, where you literally can talk to them about everything. You're not going to have a whole bunch of people, that you can call friends. And the older I get to, I'm also careful how I even use the word friends. Because I'm like, no, you more
That's
like
an
it.
acquaintance.
Right, you're an acquaintance, okay? We work together, whatever. But we're not friends,
Right.
because a friend wouldn't do certain things, wouldn't betray you in certain ways, wouldn't treat you like you're less than a friend. So I'm very careful how I use those words, because then it also it level sets what you expect from that person. I'm like, well, I'm not expecting anything because they're not my friend. So now when you my friend, listen. I'm holding
The
you accountable.
expectations are high.
Right, and I'm holding you accountable for certain things. So yeah, I do not use that word lightly.
Hmm.
Okay. All right. This is so good, Chastity. All
I
right.
mean, I'm gonna come to Houston because I don't know if I ever told you, I was born in Galveston, but my dad
Really?
lives in like the Houston area. So I need to come
See,
down and
I
just,
mean,
yeah.
girl, and we could just drink wine together, and I
Yes.
mean, come, this is what I'm saying. Kindred spirits. Kindred spirits. So, my friend Dewan says Stevie Wonder said it best. They won't go when I go. He said goes to play song. Loving this
Oh, I
conversation.
love that song. I
Yes,
love
I do
Stevie.
too.
Oh my
I love
gosh.
Stevie too.
I hope he's chilling in some bubble wrap and just sitting down somewhere.
I'm right. He
Cause I
really
can't.
does. Him and Frankie Beverly.
Sit down, please. Thank you so much.
Right, just sit down. Let's see. Reg says, all facts, I totally agree. Now that I'm in my 40s, I realize you can't take everyone with you, and that's okay.
Okay.
Exactly.
Mm-hmm.
We have to be
Exactly.
okay with that. Okay, so normally I do a what the sip on my solo episodes, but I just had to talk about this today because we're talking about friends. So the what the sip, Martell from Love and Marriage Huntsville. He's dating Sheree Whitfield from what was it?
Real
Real
Housewives of Atlanta.
Housewives of Atlanta. So they have a birthday dinner. Her friends, there was a birthday dinner with her friends, and he got blasted because he did not pay for the dinner. He did not cover the friends. So what about your friends? You know what I'm saying? What do you think about that? And
So
audience,
I'm
y'all could chime in on it
yeah,
too.
I'm curious because I feel like one, how did that news get out? It must have been one of her friends who
Yeah,
said
it was
something.
somebody from Real Housewives, yeah, that blasted
Okay.
him for it. Yeah.
My thoughts on that are this. It really depends on where you are in a relationship with someone romantically. So if I've been dating you for 3 months, I'm not going to put that expectation on you to
Mm-hmm.
pay for my birthday dinner.
Right.
What I would expect is for you to pick up the tab on my meal.
Yeah.
Everybody else who was invited, and that's another thing. We've seen a lot of like social media stuff about birthday dinners, all them TikToks where people like going crazy and
Yeah.
ordering like $50
They want the
lobsters and only
lobster,
bringing
right?
$20.
Right.
When you're going out for someone's birthday, this is really the cardinal rule.
Yeah.
Everybody pay attention. If someone invites you to their birthday dinner, unless they say it is a catered event, you don't have to worry about paying for anything. Please expect to pay for your meal and your drinks.
Mm-hmm.
Period.
That's it.
So I think in this regard, with Mr. Martell, he should have picked up what he should have done was at least paid for a couple bottles of wine for the
Mm-hmm.
table, or a round or two of drinks, and his lady's entree and
Yeah.
her appetizers and her dessert. Like,
Right.
he should have just taken care of when the bill came. A real pimp would have been like, "Hey, here's the platinum Amex."
Right. Right. Right.
However,
everybody ain't got it like that.
everybody
we had
got
a
it like that. That's
recession. We
okay.
had a recession. People cut back.
Right, but I think in this scenario, if it's your girl's birthday,
Yeah.
and also talking to her about what her birthday dinner is looking like and what her expectation is. So if she is already just invited people to come have dinner, then you take the initiative and be like, all right, we'll get to the restaurant. I'll talk to our host and our waiter. I got these bottles. I got the first round of drinks. I got the apps, or whatever you choose to do, so that when the bill comes, the server knows, okay, this gentleman said he's going to pick up. And it's just really communicating.
Exactly.
It's not that hard.
Yeah, and then they not blasting you on social media.
And then you won't have to address it in a reunion show.
Right.
But maybe there's a crossover episode that's gonna come.
Maybe
it
must be something happening. I don't know what's happening. Let's see. The one say and tax and gratuity, and
Period.
Reg says some of them plus ones be running up tabs, right? Because they know they like, well, he gonna pay for it, and see, when they realize he didn't pay for it, they're like, oh shoot, I gotta pay for all this food I didn't order. Yeah, see, you can't be playing out here in these streets. Stop messing with people's money. We in a recession.
Period.
Okay, so we're gonna do one final thing, a rapid fire. I love rapid fires. I haven't even done this in so long, but this is fun. Okay, so you just answer the first thing that comes to mind with the choices given. Okay, red or white?
White.
Okay, Napa or south of France?
Ooh, south of France.
Yeah.
No shade to Napa, but
I'm right. Okay, sweet or dry?
Dry.
All right. Wine bar or winery?
Wine bar.
Okay. All right. Wine with friends or Netflix and chill?
Let's go wine with friends right now.
Okay.
Yeah.
So you talk about friends. You're like, okay. Call or text?
Text me.
Okay.
Yeah.
And then your favorite wine. I know it's hard to choose, but one that may come to mind right off the bat.
It's so natural for me to say sparkling wine because I love bubbles, and I feel like just my personality I've always gravitated toward them, and not just really any style. I'd say like champagne's probably like my least favorite, but my most favorite would definitely be like Cava, Cremant. I love and enjoy a dry Prosecco, Lambrusco. I mean, I could go on and on and on. And then we break out the champagne for, the very special occasions, the promotions, the babies on the way, the
Yeah.
breakups. Because if my friend
Right.
says I broke up with my boy or my
Right.
girl, I got some wine for you. Let's go.
Yeah, exactly. Listen, I always got wine. My friends know they can always count on me to have some wine at the crib. And
Yes.
like, okay, oh, we had some other final comments about this dinner. Okay, so Elsie, so Elsie said, I feel like if you have the money to pay for you and your friends, but if we're just dating, I would only pay for my date. I actually don't think they're really dating.
Mm.
Lydia said a B-Day dinner is no different than if he hosted a dinner party at the house from close friends. Money is going to get spent either way.
Facts.
Um, so yeah, so it just depends, on where you are with that man. Like you said, a real pimp with, he'll take out that Amex
And the platinum Amex is heavy, so you gonna
right,
hear it drop.
exactly, right. So what is next for you, Chastity? I know you have some amazing things going on, so tell us what's going on.
In the immediate, so probably I'd say over the next 6 months, definitely just digging back into my writing bag. And I started a podcast called Palette
Yes.
Cleanser. So really building I'm laughing because I'm like, I need to put an episode out this week. But building a
Yeah.
system around that, because I respect the heck out of podcasters.
Mhm.
Y'all, the consistency, baby. I'm trying to get like you.
Girl, listen.
Truly. Like, so building a system around that. I do have I'm probably gonna do like some wine centric events in
Yeah.
Chicago this fall, some tastings,
Let me
like the
know. I will
temperature.
come there
Go
for
ahead.
that. I will come there for that. You let me know.
I will. No,
Yes.
seriously. And like the temperature around those has been so positive. And
Yeah.
I'm like, y'all really like me. Y'all really do. And they're like, yeah, do more of this.
I
And
mean, you can't help but not like you, Chastity. Come on.
thank you. And the funny thing is, I had a whole plan to do like in-person tastings at
Yeah.
the end of 2019, and we all know what happened in
Yeah.
2020.
Yeah.
So it all went virtual for me, but I get so much joy and excitement being able to be in front of people and
Right.
talk about wine and encourage them to like just try it.
Yeah.
Just try it. It may not be what you think it's going to taste like, but you might fall in love with it. So let's see, a couple of events in the rest of the summer and the fall, and I actually I wrote a book. It'll come out in
What?
February.
Oh my
Yeah.
God.
And this is actually
You
the
just
perfect
doing.
platform
I
to
told
talk
you,
about
you're
it.
the Renaissance woman. I swear.
Thank you.
Yes.
So it's basically like a flip book.
Okay.
So this, Joy, as a wine lover and enthusiast and professional, the way you and I talk about wine is different from how our friends
Right.
talk about wine.
Yeah.
And we can blame WSET for that or thank them.
Right.
But the book is like a flip book, and you'll be able to, in a way, come up with how, if you have like a glass of wine in front of you and you don't know the words to say, you can flip through and be like,
Love
oh,
that.
that's how I would describe that wine.
Yeah.
So yeah, I wrote it a couple months ago.
Okay.
Hopefully will have a hard copy in my hands next month.
That's
And then I'll really start
exciting.
ramping up like how I'm going to promote it. So the way
Yeah.
I see it is like doing tastings in different cities. So coming
Right.
down to Houston, going to LA, going to Brooklyn, going to DC, just
Yeah.
having like these informal but very fun wine tastings, and just seeing how people talk about wine. Because I think that tends to be a barrier to entry for people, because they're like, oh, I don't know how to like
Right.
talk about it. And sometimes it's as simple as being like, if it tastes like a pink starburst, or if it reminds you of now laters, say that, and then I'm gonna know how to like in my brain
what to recommend. Yeah.
Exactly. So really just kind of like debunking those myths
That's
about
so
talking around
good.
wine. Yeah, I'm
I love
excited.
that because
Like,
so many people are
yeah,
scared to even order wine when they go to a restaurant because they don't want to sound ignorant, so to speak. But it's like, it's okay if you don't know. That's
hmm
why you have somms at the restaurant. That's why you have people that can tell you about these things. But some people are like,
exactly.
I don't want to, I don't want to mispronounce it. I don't want to sound like I don't know what I'm talking about. But so I love, love, love that. We
Yeah.
got to we got to tell more people about wine because I tell my audience, I'm like, there's more than sweet. There's more than there.
Joy, I work and
Ah,
I love us. I love Black
yes.
people. I love us for real. I work part time. This summer, I've been working part time at a wine shop. Just again, because I'm a
Yeah.
nerd and I'm an
Right.
overachiever. I'm like, what's
Mhm.
this like? Because you
Right.
mentioned, wanting to one day own a wine bar, and I'm
Yeah.
like, me too.
Yeah.
But what is it like?
Exactly.
Because hiring people,
Right.
managing inventory, I was like,
Mhm.
dang, this
Yeah,
is
there's a
a
lot that
lot.
goes into it.
But so for context, I grew up in Evanston, Illinois, which is
Mhm.
north of, it's the first suburb north of Chicago.
Yep.
So it's
Mhm.
very Chicago adjacent.
Yes.
But it's a very, it's a very white suburb. And I
Mhm.
tend to see that sometimes when I'm working at the wine shop. Usually they only chocolate drop, like, what
Yeah.
y'all
Right.
need, y'all good.
Right.
And sometimes it's like surprising, like, oh my gosh, like, you grew up here? Yeah, because Black people live in Evanston too. Anyway, whenever I invite like friends and family to come, first thing I get, y'all got any sweet wine? Baby, no.
It's like I'm not serving you
But
sweet wine, but I got something for you.
I got something for you. And I love that moment where I'm like, I'm gonna
Yeah.
just pour you a little splash
Yes.
and see what you like, what you
Mhm.
think of it. But yeah, we have to redefine also what sweet is.
Mhm.
Because if you think about the spectrum of wine, like you do have like bone dry,
Yeah.
you have like, high tannins,
Mhm.
but with sweet, I automatically go to like port or sherry, which
Right.
also is a different level of
Yeah, that's a
sweet.
different. Yeah.
Yeah, but it's like, do you want sweet and high alcohol?
Mhm. Right.
I can give you Taylor Port, but if you
Right.
just want like a little bit of like succulent
Yeah.
fruit on your
Mhm.
palate, I got you.
Yes. Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
there are some options. Ooh, I love
Yeah.
it. I love it. I love wine talk. I love it. I love it. Let's see. Regra said, I don't like the bitter wines. Maybe I have to taste
Okay.
different varieties. Yeah, open up your palate, Reg. Just, you gotta open yourself up to new things. Elsie said, hey, ain't nothing wrong with sweets. That's because she like Moscato. And I'm trying to tell her, here's some other options. Try Lambrusco. Try there are a lot of different things that you can try. Even like some, I well, see, we're gonna go off into a whole wine conversation, but we'll be here all night. But yeah, I'm like, there are some options. So I think a Lambrusco is good for people who like sweet though. But
Yes.
yeah, and I love it. It's refreshing. But yeah, this has been amazing. This has made my entire month of August.
Oh, you're so sweet. I'm so glad we finally got to chat.
Yes, me too. This has been great. And if you are not following Chastity, please follow her. And on Instagram, it's pinned in the chat at by Chastity Cooper. She's got some amazing things going on. If you're in Chicago, we're holding you accountable for these events because I got to hold myself accountable too because I have done
Yes,
nothing in
I
person.
I
But
have I have one coming up this
mhm,
Saturday. I'm
okay,
actually once we finish wrap up here,
yeah,
I'm going to post that event.
okay,
And then I'm gonna start planning. It's so scary, like you mentioned earlier, like it's scary just kind of like stepping out on your own. I'm
yes,
so used to people being like, "Hey, let's collaborate," but I
right.
think now it's time to be like,
Yeah.
"I got y'all."
I know you got it though. You got it. You've done so much. You've built a name, so you got it. So I can't wait to see more to come from you. And yeah, see, yeah, these are Moscato people in the chat. Y'all get out my chat with this
Okay, please
Moscato.
bye.
Get out right. Get out my chat with this. My friend friend Lydia said, she said, not succulent fruit on your palate. She said,
Listen,
she said, y'all are such wine geeks. I love it. I love it. And see, so then you hear this too. See, I'm trying to get Chasity off here too. She got things to do. But somebody said, honestly, I don't think I am really a wine person. And that is a, what do you call that? That is a, it's when people say I'm this, but really it's, what is that word called? I can't think of it. But it's just like, don't even put that over your life, because you can be a wine person. You know, like you can totally be a wine person. So Elsie, I rebuke it. That's what I'm saying to you, because I've not received it. I don't know what the word is that I'm trying to think of right now. But it's just like, no, don't say you're not a wine person, because you can definitely learn about wines. Elsie, I've been teaching about wine for a whole year. You better go get you some of these bottles. Don't even play with me. So, but yeah, like people say that, but it's just because they don't, you know, they don't know. And we got y'all. We got y'all.
Yes.
Y'all go on Chastity's Instagram and you listen to her podcast, Palate Cleansers, right?
Palate Cleanser, yes.
Palate Cleanser, okay? So, now, Reg, I just gave you her Instagram about 5 times, and it's pinned in the chat. By Chasity Cooper. It's pinned right here in the chat. So make sure you follow her, get all that knowledge, follow her blog. What's your website, Chasity, so I can put that in the chat too?
My website is my name, chastitycooper.com.
Okay, there you go. Plain and simple for you guys. So make sure you go on her website, chastitycooper.com. Get your wine knowledge on. And we can't wait to see amazing things from you. Thank you so much for being here.
Thank you. Oh my gosh, I can't wait to hug you in person.
I know. Yes, it's going to happen soon. All right. Thank you, Chasity.
Thank you, Joy.
All right, everybody. I'll see y'all next week. Bye.